Imagine you wake up one morning and the sun is gone. Not just behind a cloud, but gone. The sky is a dull, gray haze. The air is cold, even in the middle of summer, and it stays that way. Not for a day, not for a week, but for over a year. This isn't a sci-fi movie, this actually happened. In the year 535 AD, something terrifying occurred across the globe. People from Ireland to China looked up at the sky and saw the same thing. The sun had dimmed, it had lost its brightness, its warmth. A Byzantine historian named Procopius wrote, "The sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon." During this whole year, for 18 long months, the world was plunged into a mysterious twilight. There were no distinct seasons, just a perpetual, chilling gloom. The consequences were catastrophic. In Europe, summer temperatures plummeted by as much as 2.5 degrees Celsius, triggering the coldest decade in over 2,000 years. In China, historical records describe summer snow and widespread frost, leading to massive crop failures. In Mesopotamia, the once fertile crescent, dense, dry fog blotted out the sun, and the harvests were lost. This period became known to modern historians as the Late Antique Little Ice Age, and the year 535 AD itself has been called the worst year to be alive. Think about the psychological impact. With no modern science to explain what was happening, people were terrified. They saw this as a divine punishment, a sign that the gods had abandoned them, or that the world itself was ending. And for many, it did. Famine swept across continents. Malnutrition weakened populations, making them vulnerable to disease. The social fabric began to unravel. In Ireland, the Gaelic annals speak of a failure of bread from the years 536 to 539. In Scandinavia, it is believed that the crisis was so severe that up to half the population may have perished. Archaeological evidence from this period shows entire villages being abandoned and a sudden drop in the number of settlements. People were starving, and societies were collapsing. The great empires of the time were not immune. The Eastern Roman Empire, under the ambitious Emperor Justinian, was trying to reconquer the lost Western territories. But this environmental catastrophe weakened its resources and its people. Then, as if things weren't bad enough, something even more devastating followed. In 541 AD, the first great pandemic of bubonic plague, known as the Plague of Justinian, struck the empire. It arrived on grain ships from Egypt, carried by fleas on rats. A population already weakened by years of hunger had no defense. The plague swept through Constantinople and spread across the Mediterranean world, killing an estimated 25 to 50 million people, perhaps a third of the empire's population. Was there a connection between the darkened sky and the plague that followed? Some scientists believe so. The colder, harsher climate could have altered ecosystems, causing plague-carrying rodents to move into closer contact with human populations in their search for food. So what caused this global catastrophe? For centuries, the reason behind the mystery veil of 535 AD was unknown. Historians had the records of famine and cold, but no clear cause. Was it a massive asteroid impact? A strange atmospheric phenomenon? The answer lay hidden in the ice. It wasn't until scientists began analyzing ice cores from Greenland and Antarctica that the truth started to emerge. These ice cores act like a timeline, trapping atmospheric particles from thousands of years ago. Deep within the ice layers corresponding to the mid-6th century, scientists found a huge spike in sulfate particles. This was the smoking gun. It pointed to a massive volcanic eruption, one so powerful that it spewed a colossal amount of ash and sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. This volcanic aerosol cloud acted like a giant sunshade, wrapping around the northern hemisphere and reflecting sunlight back into space, causing the dramatic cooling on the ground. For a long time, scientists debated which volcano was responsible. Candidates included Krakatoa in Indonesia and Rabaul in Papua New Guinea. But more recent evidence points to a massive eruption in the Americas. A 2018 study suggested that the eruption of Ilopango in modern-day El Salvador was the culprit. This eruption was so colossal it would have been one of the largest in the last 7,000 years. And here is a stunning twist. The ice core data revealed another massive eruption just a few years later, around 540 AD. So, it wasn't a single event, it was a devastating one to punch. Two massive volcanic eruptions, possibly on opposite sides of the world, pumped enough material into the atmosphere to block the sun and alter the climate for years. The world was hit by a double catastrophe, with the second eruption prolonging the cooling and the suffering. The people living through it had no idea what was happening. They couldn't see a volcano erupting thousands of miles away. All they knew was that the sun had vanished, their crops were failing, and their world was falling apart. The events of 535 AD and the years that followed were a major turning point in history. The weakened Eastern Roman Empire could never fully recover its former glory. The chaos and collapse in Europe helped pave the way for the rise of new kingdoms and the beginning of what we call the Dark Ages. Entire civilizations, like the Nazca in Peru and the city of Teotihuacan in Mexico, also experienced decline and collapse around this time, suggesting the climate event's impact was truly global. It's a chilling reminder of how fragile our civilizations are. We often think of history in terms of kings, queens, and battles. We focus on human actions as the primary drivers of change. But the story of 535 AD shows us that sometimes the most powerful forces are entirely beyond our control. A single geological event, or in this case two, can bring mighty empires to their knees, reshape societies, and alter the course of human history in ways no army ever could. It happened silently, with a veil of dust in the sky, and it changed the world forever. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other silent events are shaping our own history right now, just beyond our sight? Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the hidden corners of history. See you next time.